That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Ah, shoot, hit the wrong button. Hold on.
I'm gonna go up there, ignore me.
Oh, I'm not ready yet.
Up there so you can see
I'm not ready yet. I was ready and I messed it up.
It's okay. Well, we're live. Just know that.
We're live?
Yes.
Hey everybody,
Okay, well,
we live.
It's okay. People are still tuning in.
Oh, they tuning in. The only people that tune in was they tune. There's little Atlanta tunes in. Who else tunes in?
Oh wow, this switched all the way.
Who knows?
Ombre tunes in every now and then. Yeah, so
Who is Ombre?
he came in?
Is that guy?
yeah.
That was him.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know who Ombre was.
Me either.
But okay.
Oh man.
I know it sounds like Sherry Kincaid is your mom's friend.
Yeah.
And then we know who Liv is. We know who you are. I know Kevin's in there. Who showed up was John Mitchell. He showed up.
Okay.
Yeah, last week. They come out to see you. They don't come to see me.
Yes, they do.
They come out to see you in full force. I was like, look at this. We on full regalia in this chat room today. I'm trying to remember. There's another one, Santino.
Mm-hmm.
That's his name, Santino something. He's you.
Ciprian, that's my
Yes.
husband.
Oh, he's in there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. Santino. But those are the usual suspects that are usually in there. Like I said, they. Which is good. I'm shouting at everybody that's on the
There you go. Now you can see the chat.
it's on the live.
Okay, but
Pop out chat. Boom. Okay. So if you want to see that, you can also see the chat here.
Are they in there?
It's right here.
now I can't see my screen.
And isn't that what they gonna see on the
Yeah, so if you want to just see it, if you want to just pull it up, if you want to go up there and just click, all you gotta do is click that right there. You can
Oh,
see the chat.
okay. Here's a question. I mean, will they see themselves in the chat?
Yes.
Okay, then let's do this then. Let's
If you pull the screen up, if you let's say you click
no.
this window,
Let's.
Why
pull-
don't you just use that for just the board and then have your stuff up for the chat or whatever on your iPad or whatever? How y'all
bring
want to
bring
do
the
it.
chat up,
food for thought. Food for
and I'll just come. I'll just come here. And the only problem is that you're not going to be able to bring the text into what you're doing there.
I can just, if you say what text you want, I can just bring it up on that back computer in the back and feed it into the stream.
Well, I'm going to be on Isaiah chapter 5.
Okay.
But if I move from there,
Then I'll just move with you.
okay. You know how to work the software back there?
Yeah.
For the Bible?
But that chat's there. If you want me to put it low, or you want me to leave it up?
If you're gonna do that, then take the text completely out.
Okay.
So these are the people that are online now?
Yes. And they can hear you.
They're actually making fun of us in the chat.
Well,
there's like, look at these two yahoos
if-
before they get started.
If you're in the chat room, we're still trying to configure ourselves so we can get started. But I see you, Kenya. What is that? Sheila E.
Sheila E is in there.
What's that? I'm in the building. Good evening. Okay,
I can't believe
Kenya.
the glamour.
That's my bestie since the 6th grade. Wow, Kenya. That's a beautiful thing.
What are they seeing? They seeing the main camera?
Yes, right now we're on main cam.
Oh, okay. Hey, if we ever get a chance to go to Atlanta, we got to go to Pascal's. Pascal's is the soul food restaurant where all the civil rights folks used to eat at. It's right there off of downtown, right there by the Mercedes.
Who's that?
Center.
Who's that sending me love? Sending me hearts? Who's that sending us hearts?
Oh, it doesn't say when the hearts pop up.
Yeah.
It doesn't say. It just means that people are clicking the hearts on their phones.
Oh, they oh, that must have said something about that soul food, Pascal's. Is that when they started coming out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Pascal's. There's another one that's down. It's over there by Lenox Mall. It's what is it called? Southern I forget the name of it, but it's like gourmet soul food.
Bunny pie.
Yeah.
Bunny pie. Is that your
Kiera.
the baby?
Oops, excuse me. I shouldn't be saying people's real names on this thing. They're gonna be like, wait a minute.
Kiera.
Go by my alias, please.
Okay, we're all set up. We're in Isaiah chapter 5 back here, but I'll follow you.
Okay, well I haven't got it up on my pad yet.
We're gonna say some subject matter tonight that's gonna shock everybody. Get it again. Forget it. Like I said, we ain't on the clock. Get that clock.
This is Rabbi Robert B. Holman Jr. and
Sean Appleton.
and this is Hebrews in Exile. Hey, Ambassador.
Elder statesman, the emissary to the Most High.
We have just finished and come out of the high holy days.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I'm still recovering. I'm going to tell you why, because this last one took a toll on me. This last one, Sukkot, where, because we got the little tent and we put it out in the backyard and everything, and we try to, the text says that you're supposed to live out of that thing, but, I'm going back and forth in and out of the house, things that I need in there, we bring them out to the tent and whatnot. But I was saying to myself as I was looking up at the roof of the tent, said our ancestors did this for 40 years straight. And this ain't no Tempur-Pedic that's out here in this tent. I mean, this bed is not, and I was sleeping on a futon. It was hard, that ground, and being out there, it was cold and whatnot. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, this was not an ideal situation. But it reminded me of this, the fact that, hey, the Most High kept us when our ancestors were in the desert. He was a cloud by day. So
fire by night.
And a fire by night. We didn't burn up during the daytime, and then we didn't, we could see we had our street lights on at nighttime. And when the Most High moved under the direction of the Melech or Malach, the angel that was with Moshe, and we moved. So, I mean, it's a time of reflection. And look at me, I'm already, and it's got my head all into these. But I feel good. I feel like every year that we do them, we get a deeper appreciation. And as we get deeper into the text and into the mitzvot themselves and we draw them out, it just gets more and more and more sentimental and more, it's a humbling experience to say, we kept these throughout the year. We abided by the Most High's mitzvahs. And when we look at Shemot chapter number 34, and we look at all of the things that are in there that says, these are the things that I want you to observe, and those moedim are in there, we try to do them the best way we can. So it's been real interesting.
Yeah, like I said before, these mitzvot, and particularly Sukkot, is designed to be done in the land, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Climate-wise, the land during this particular time of the year, it's their summer. It begins their summer season, and it's hot in the continent. So you don't have that cold effect. You don't have rain happening and what have you. It's hot.
Oh yeah, and I could appreciate that because we had the actually heater out there in that tent while we were out there.
Yeah, because it'd be cold.
Yeah, you're going to be so. If the climate and conditions, the Most High has provided for us in the land at that particular region of the world,
And if you lived in the cities here in the United States during this time, you've got flooding, you've got all kind of different type of climate situations happening that literally prevent you from being able to adhere to that particular mitzvah. That's the reason why the Most High has given us grace.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, there's things that
You know, I've talked
yeah.
about that before, but let me tell you what grace is all about once again for you all. They said that Jesus Christ came with grace and truth, but grace and truth existed long before he was ever created.
Yeah, it's true. Way before he came along.
And the reason the Most High gave us grace for this 6th day is because he excommunicated us out of the land, and he knew that in the different parts of the world that Hebrew Israel was going to exist, that they were not going to be able to adhere to the totality of the mitzvot that he's given us.
Yes.
With that being the case, he gave us grace and extended grace to us. But then, you know, I hear the writer in Romans, I hear Shaul in Romans say, what shall we say? What shall we do? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? And that language in that particular text is germane to our text. And a lot of people don't understand what Shaul's really saying. Shall we continue in being Torahless? That's what he's saying, because sin is being Torahless.
Correct.
If we go to 1 John chapter 3, and the verses in there, John says the absence of Torah or the law is sin. So he says, shall we continue being Torahless that grace may abound? And the answer to that question is no.
No.
But then again, where we can walk in the mitzvot that the Most High has given us, we do those, you know, with wholeheartedly, heartfelt. We do it wholeheartedly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And actually, you know what? I will reflect and say on this. I mean, this year and past reflection and looking over it, I think I had a deeper affection for it because it was more of a understanding as we walk through Vayikra and we walk through the mitzvot, and we're heavy on the mitzvot. Not only do we have the symbolic meaning of what they mean to us now in our exile, but we also this year took a look at the hardcore in context when our ancestors, because as we've talked, at least my modus of operandi moving forward is to speak to the generations that are coming, under descendants that are coming after us.
Right.
To say that none of us here, none of you that are viewing by way of the stream, none of you that are in that chat room right now, none of us that are on the stage, none of our demographic out here is going to see the land in our lifetime. That's a fact. It's not going to happen.
No, right.
So what is our purpose? What are we doing? We have to teach this next generation, our descendants, and start that because we talked about these generational curses that are in here to the 3rd and 4th generation. And we can start to reverse that process by instantiating these mitzvot. So my thing this year was taking a really hard look in context to say, if this was a generation that was in the land, what would we actually do? And preparing that generation to say, not only do we look at it metaphorically, but this is what's going to have to happen. And we went through that in detail when we looked at Yom Kippur. And I was moving around the little characters on the board and everything to say, this is what you should be looking for and you should be seeing. So when we get back into land, we have a good foundation of how things work. But for all of you that are watching by way of the stream, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands this, that I am going to start working on the new calendar for 2000. I want to say the Gregorian year for 2023. 24. That's going to be coming out before the end of the year. We'll have it all finished. So, as you know, the Hebraic year doesn't start. So your calendar that you have right now is still good up until March of 2024. And so by December, by the end of the year, I'll have the new one out, and it'll be on the webpage, and you can go and purchase one and be ready for the upcoming year. And so you can have all your Moedims and all those things squared away.
Very good, very good. You said something there that I was making a note of, and I didn't want to stop you, and now I got to remember what it was. We have heard in Christianity, which is one of their selling points, that the rapture could happen at any time and Jesus could come. I know that those of you that are watching with us today and listening with us today, you know that there is no text at all, even in your text, that talks about a rapture or what rapture really is.
Right.
So, but for Hebrew Israel, we now recognize that this exile is extended. I mean, if we look at, we've come. I mean, from I'm in my 80s,
The octogenarian.
and I've been hearing since the day I was born that Jesus could come any day. And that hasn't happened because, number one, there's no Jesus to come. One. And if there was a Jesus could come, he can't operate outside the directions of the Most High. And the Most High has a set time and a set period, except for in this exile, if you remember, with the Babylonian captivity and exile, there was a time frame that was established. There was a time frame established when Israel went down into Mitzrayim. But when the Most High exiled Israel out of the land in this diaspora into the nations, he did not set a time frame.
Right. Can I take a sidebar real quick and have you put on your Pentecostal pastor hat for a second?
I gotta go. I gotta go out in the warehouse and dig that up out the trunk, man, and dust the dust off of it.
Because you said something there that says that we were always taught that there's a rapture and Jesus could come at any time.
Yeah.
So while we were in the Christian church, I'm trying to remember, was there ever a teaching on what was the precursor for Jesus coming? He will come if it gets this bad, or he's just going to show up whenever? Because that statement says he could show up at any time, isn't set on any set criteria.
Exactly, and it wasn't set on any direct criteria. I mean, primarily, as things got bad within our social network or in the world climate changed. It got bad as the world's climate got bad. It was always an issue. Well, Jesus is going to come anytime now. Things are getting bad, blah, blah, blah. But things have been getting bad ever since we were exiled out of the land.
That's right. Continual declination.
Yeah.
So at least in regards to that same thing, here's the observation that I've noticed as you were speaking about that. Because again, we don't tend to, because we're not brought up and taught about the behavior of the Most High. And now that it's a great dovetail back into the Moedims, because the behavior of the Most High is that he has a set time when he wants to meet with us.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's not only every 7 days, but periodically through the year at these particular Moedims. And it's very specific. When you're supposed to be in full regalia and attendance for the Most High. Matter of fact, as I go back to Shemot chapter 34, it says 3 times a year, your men are supposed to appear in Yerushalayim, and they're not supposed to appear empty-handed. I believe it's Sukkot, Shavuot, and what's the other one? I forget the third one, but there's 3 of them that are in there. I think they call it the ingathering, and then they have, I think it's Yom Teruah and Shavuot. I think it's Yom Kippur. Is it Yom Kippur?
What? When we're supposed to what?
3 times a year, your men are supposed to show up.
It's in Isaiah. It's in Devarim chapter 16. I think it is.
Because I thought it was in 34 too. But my point is with that and making that while you're getting that is that the Most High's behavior is not sporadic.
No.
If you look at his behavior, he's very specific. What time I want you here, when you're supposed to start it. There's nothing left up to chance. And that's one of the things that I've gleaned from Christianity. It's just so open. It's just so non-definitive.
Right.
If I want to be very diplomatic
Right.
in my approach.
Right. So that's in you were quoting Devarim chapter 16 and verse 16.
Okay.
3 times a year all your men are to appear in the presence of Yahweh your El in the place which he will choose at the festival of Matzah, the festival of Shavuot, and the festival of Sukkot.
Sukkot. Okay.
Yeah.
They're those three. So
those
I
three.
messed those up. But yeah, matzah, Sukkot, and Shavuot.
Yeah. So, you know, the thing is that every year we go through the high holy days. And, you know, one of the things I want to impress upon our listeners to know is that if you have been walking in the ways of the Most High, you have secured with him another year of peace, another year of health and tranquility. You have secured with him his responsibility to respond to you in any way that you need him to respond to you. Because we hear in Devarim chapter number 4 where he talks about what people have an El as close to them as your El, that when you call on him, he answers. And he answers us because we walk in his ways and we keep his commandments.
Agreed.
Now, switching to another subject, I have been pondering in my mind since we taught on the lesson of there not being a hell, one, and there not being a devil, two. What do you think the Christian response would be if they knew there was no hell and there was no devil? What do you think the response would be?
I don't have a Christian mind anymore, so I don't know what that response would. I would think that they would try to somehow twist, like they've always done, twist it in a way to say, okay, see where it says over here. I think they would probably go back to their text in the New Testament and try to say, well, it says it here, and I don't know. I don't know if I can.
Yeah. Well, see, here's
that.
the problem. Here's the problem. We have primarily debunked.
Right.
We have pretty much killed all the sacred cows.
Yeah, and that's one of them. That's a huge one.
And this last one, hell and the devil, and the question that the issue that solidifies our position on this matter is that Bereshit defines everything that the Most High created in 7 days. And there is absolutely no mention that where the Most High created anything called hell.
That's correct.
Or Gehenna. Okay?
Yep.
And this idea of a devil, we debunk that. In if you're using Isaiah chapter 14, I think it is, oh, how thou hast fallen, you know.
Right.
And from that particular text, you have to read the whole text to realize that the text is not talking about a devil; it's talking about Nebuchadnezzar.
That's right. I think it talks about "O morning star, you fallen from your place of grace." And it's in context. It's talking about that king.
Yeah, and you have to know by reading the pretext and the text what the subject matter is talking about, rather than going in and pulling something out and saying this is what it means. That's what European commentaries have done, which have thrown our people off.
Correct.
So that they are confused in terms of what's what.
Correct.
Now, with that being the case, I want to talk about something that is in Isaiah chapter number 5.
Okay. Let me get this already.
In Isaiah chapter number 5, We took it down because we put the.
Oh, okay.
we
Let me
put
go up
that
there and get it.
You can get it.
All right.
Going to the board. Sean is going to the board. It's right there. There it is. There it is.
I don't have to do much. All
Yeah.
right. There we go.
Here we go. If we do that, then I need my keyboard.
Ugh.
I need my keyboard. Where did I put the keyboard?
See, I'm over
Where did I
here.
put the keyboard?
You put it. I thought you put the key underneath. Right there. There we go.
Okay.
You see all that? See what we was doing that whole entire thing? Let me get up.
That's cause I'm not young anymore.
Oh, boy.
Now, listen, class. In Isaiah chapter 5 is a conversation that most people defined hell or Hades, or the terminology is Sheol, or if we're looking at it from a different rendering, it's the Netherland. But let's read the text so we can get an understanding of what's there.
Okay.
Uh-oh. I'm disconnected.
I got you. I'll
Okay.
scroll it.
Okay. It says, I want to sing a song for someone I love, a song about my loved one and his vineyard. My loved one had a vineyard on a very fertile hill. So now we're listening to a song, and we're listening to a dissertation about this loved one and the vineyard. And this fertile hill happens to be Jerusalem. He dug up its stones and cleared them away, planted it with the choicest vines, built a watchtower in the middle of it, carved out its rocks a winepress. He expected to produce good grapes, but it produced only sour wild grapes. Now, all of that in that particular text is something that takes us back over to Jeremiah, where Jeremiah says, I forget in which chapter it is, he says, I planted you a true vine, but you have become a degenerated vine. The vine happens to be Israel. Mm-hmm. Now, citizens of Jerusalem, the people of Yehuda, judge between me and your vineyard. What more could I have done for my vineyard that I haven't already done in it? So why, when I expected good grapes, did it produce sour or wild grapes? So now by the language of the text, we know that the language of the text is talking about Israel. Israel happens to be the vineyard. It happens to be the grapes that have become sour. Now come, and I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will remove its hedge, and its grapes will be eaten up, and I will break through its fence, and its vines will be trampled down. Listen to the text. The text says, this is what I'm going to do to my vineyard. I'm going to remove its hedge. Well, when the Most High talks about removing a hedge, he's always talking about removing his spirit. What happened to Israel when the Most High excommunicated us out of the land? When he excommunicated us out of the land, his spirit was removed from us. And when our ancestors were traversing the transatlantic slave and became subjected to the upheavals of the Portuguese and the Ashkenazi Jews, they cried out in the hulls of the ships, they cried out, Kumbaya. The Kumbaya was to help us, Yah. The question comes to mind, why did not Yah help them? Because he couldn't help them because the hedge was removed. Why was the hedge removed? Because they had become a degenerated vine and because they had abdicated him and they had gone after other gods, and we failed, our ancestors failed to walk in his rules and his mitzvot. We look at Lamentations chapter 5, verse 7, and the text says, we are in this exile because of our ancestors. And I'm paraphrasing. Now, verse number 6, he says, I will let it go to waste. I'm going to let the vineyard go to waste. It will neither It will be neither pruned nor hoed, but overgrown with briars and thorns. And I also order the clouds not to let any rain fall on it. Once again, rain is a metaphor for spirit, and also rain is a metaphor for Torah. Now, the vineyard of Yahweh Sabaoth is the house of Israel. So the text in here tells us who the vineyard is. It also tells us who my beloved is. It's Yisrael. So now he says, now the vineyard of Yahweh Sabaoth is the house of Israel, and the men of Yehudah are the plant he delighted in. Who are the men of Yehudah? The Kohanim, those who were responsible for keeping Israel in its rightful place and honoring the mitzvot and following the ways of the Most High. So he, the Most High, expected justice, but look, bloodshed and righteousness, but listen, cries of distress. So now he's looking at an overall picture of what happened to Israel, the Kohanim and the Leviim and the nation of Israel, while they were in their distress of trying to figure out what they were doing. They committed bloodshed, they committed horrible sins against each other, and they walked in unrighteousness before the Most High. Verse 8. Now, listen to verse 8, because verse 8 is going to be kind of important as we get down into the latter clauses of where I want to be. Woe to those who add house to house and join field to field until there's no room for anyone else, and you live in splendor alone on your land. Remember, Yeshayahu is a prophetic book, and it prophesies into this current age and this current time that we're living in. Woe to those who add house to house, join field to field, until there's no room for anyone else, and you live in splendor alone on your land. That's a current event statement that is germane to a lot of the leadership in Christianity where our people have flocked to. Yahweh Sabaoth said in my ears, okay, now I'm going to slow it down a little bit. Many houses will be brought to ruin, large, magnificent ones left empty. We're going to put a pin in there. There's a period. Many houses. What houses are he talking about? Is he talking about houses that we live in? No, he's not talking about the houses that we live in. He's talking about many of the houses of worship. Many of the houses are going to be left empty. Brought to ruin, and the magnificent ones left empty. For a 10-acre vineyard will produce only 5 gallons of wine, and seed from 5 bushels of grain will yield, give me a scroll.
Bushel of grain?
Yeah, will yield but a half a bushel. So now he's talking about what these houses are going to produce and not produce. When are we talking about these things taking place? We're talking about these things taking place in the end of days. However, we are beginning to see during our lifetime, many of the granulous houses of worship are being slightly depleted because young people are beginning to see the error and beginning to see the holes in Christianity, and they are walking away from Christianity. You're going to see that become more and more of a way of life for a lot of young Christians as we move forward in this period of time. Now, he says, woe to those who get up early to pursue intoxicating liquor. Put a pin in it. He's literally, that's not a metaphor. That is literally a statement that he is talking about, because a lot of our people, that is the first thing that they grab in the morning. They grab intoxicating liquors, which is the reason why we have such a problem with alcoholism, and we have such a problem with the various narcotics that take place, who stay up late at night until wine inflames them. They have lutes and lyres, drums and flutes and wine at their parties, and they pay no attention to how Yahweh works and never look at what his hands have made. Let's hold it right there for a minute. Now, one of the biggest problems that we have is that there is no knowledge of the Most High in the land. When you think about Sean, when you think about how large a body of people Israel is in exile, and you think about, I got to say this. My father always said it's a poor dog who won't wag his own tail. And I have to say, I know beyond a reasonable doubt that the things that we are teaching are true, they are factual, they can be proven by the Most High's word, and they resonate with what he has said. Do you realize when we look at the larger body of Hebrew Israel that's in exile, they are not privileged to what we're teaching?
Agreed. Totally agreed.
I mean, you have scoured the internet, and we've looked for partner Hebrew congregations that were pure Hebrews that taught nothing but Torah and Torah principles and mitzvos, and we can't find them.
Yeah, that's true. There's probably the closest for our constituency and demographic that are in the great state of Georgia. The closest I've come to that is maybe one or a few, but the problem is they're Hebristians.
Right, and that's what I'm talking about.
They keep
they're all
Christ.
They're still holding on to a Greek theology and trying to mix a Greek theology with Hebraic truth.
Yep.
Hebraic truth is true. It's the word that has been expressed by the Most High. So there's a lack of knowledge and the ways and the works of the Most High in the land. So our people are partying.
Yeah.
They're partying.
Yeah.
Lutes, lyres, drums, flutes, wine, parties, and they pay no attention to how Yahweh works and never look at what his hands have made.
Yeah, that's us.
Now, verse 13 is the key.
Our people.
Is the key text. Is coming up with the key text. For such lack of knowledge, my people go into exile. Period. Why are we in exile? The Most High has just said, because we pay no attention to his works and never look at what his hands have made, and we do not have any knowledge of who he is and what he is. Now, I know you and we talk to a lot of people. And in talking to a lot of people, the subject matter of what we talk to them about is foreign to them.
Yes. Correct. Very much so.
And the body of work that we're talking to them about are the works of the Most High.
Absolutely.
And it's foreign to them.
Absolutely. It's been spun a way where individuals, when they see the text, they just see it as a springboard, just like you had enumerated earlier. When they look at text and they say, okay, bright and morning star that you've fallen down, they look at that and they say, okay, that's the devil, because of the way Christianity has spun our text. So it's rightly so. It's going to be foreign to them. It's like they've never even heard this before, even though it's been sitting right in front of them the whole entire time.
Right, and it's difficult for me at my age to recognize that brilliant men with educations and with THDs and DDDs and whatever else you want to put before a name, they are very proud of their acumen, but they don't know diddly about the works of the Most High, and never look at what His hands have made.
Yeah.
And for such lack of knowledge, my people go into exile. This is also why their respected men starve.
Okay, let's take a step back. Let's go. Let's back the train up a little bit. Do their leaders not know? Some leaders here within the city, and when you present these issues, namely one that we're speaking about, hell, they just look at their shoes. Like, okay, yeah, I understand that, but there's no way in the world I'm going to get up in front of anybody and make that declaration.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to say this.
Okay.
I was listening to a news. One of the gentlemen in the news report made a statement, and the moderator from the news channel said, "Well, we don't have any validation that we can accredit that statement to. We've heard that, but we can't speak that it's true because we don't have anything to validate that it's true." So in light of what you've just asked me, I can't validate that it's true other than to say that the response that I received would seem to indicate that that might be true to some extent. But to the gravity of the extent from thirst, let's unravel that for a minute. The text speaks once again in a metaphor. Their respected men starve. And their people, their masses, are parched from thirst. Now, I've already told you that rain is a metaphor for Torah. Okay? Their respected men starve because the respected men do not have Torah, because Torah is food.
Right.
It's that life source of spiritual food that spiritualizes and nourishes the soul. If the soul is not nourished and the soul is not fed, then it becomes parched, and it becomes parched for thirst because the spirit which provides Torah is absent.
So our people are malnutrition.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But now then understand, with that being the case, we have to connect verse 13 with verse 14.
Right.
With the
You got it.
with the lutes, the lyres, the drums, the parties, the lack of paying attention, and with this lack of knowledge, there being no spiritual food that feeds the soul. Verse 14 tells us something. It says, "Therefore, Sheol has enlarged itself and opened up its limitless jaws, and down go their nobles and masses along with their noise and revels." Now, Sheol is not hell.
That's correct.
And let's keep this all in context. Isaiah chapter 5 is not talking about the nations. Isaiah chapter 5 is talking about Hebrew Israel. And just because you don't know that you're Hebrew Israel does not dismiss you from being Hebrew Israel in the minds of the Most High.
That's right.
Because the Most High already said you lack knowledge.
Right. That's right. And there's that goes back to that concept of grace that you were talking about earlier, because we were in the same state too. The Most High stuck around for us and said, hey, listen, they have a spirit for truth. I'm going to give it to them. But again, we were in that state.
But
just because we didn't know.
Yes, but the difference that we're dealing with in knowledge and knowing is the fact that our hearts was open and receptive to truth when it showed up.
Correct.
We didn't try to make an alibi to escape. Well, it doesn't mean that. Well, no, we didn't do that. When truth showed up, our spirit acquiesced to that truth, and we began to teach that truth, and we began to walk in that truth.
That's right. And let me give you an accolade while you're there. Let me just stop for a second and give you an accolade while you're there. It takes leaders and individuals that are strong in and having a connection with the Most High. And that's when I said in this podcast that I just released, they came out towards the end of it, we talk about that, to say when truth shows up at your doorstep, you have something that you have to confront. You have to be able to say, am I going to compromise what I have now as far as being comfortable in light of what I know to be true? Truth is telling me that I need to function and behave in this certain capacity and manner, but I live in a day and age that's contradictory and diametrically opposed to that. So I have this dichotomy that's in front of me. Which one do I choose? And so to piggyback on what you're saying, it takes these strong, even in the text, it says it starts with the leaders first,
right,
trickling on down to the individuals that are listening. And we had a group of individuals, core individuals at FTF that says when truth showed up, we accepted it and said, you know what? Because the people that didn't accept it,
they went away.
They went away. Soon as we started teaching the Shabbat, that was the door where they said, we don't want to have anything to do with the Shabbat, because the Shabbat,
it interferes with the way I live.
That's right. That's right. And I got to say,
it gets in the way of what I want to do.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to say this. It may sound, and I don't care at this particular point, and I'm going to get crucified, and this is on YouTube, but it's almost like this symbiotic. Let me make an allegory here. It's like this relationship with a husband and a wife, where the Most High has said, hey, listen, you guys, this is truth. This is what I want you to understand. This is how I want you to act and perform. What Christianity likes to do is have this rebellious attitude to say, we get to do whatever I want to do. I don't have to do what you tell me to do. And the Most High is sitting there saying, he's consistent. If you want to act this way towards me, then I'm going to excommunicate you out of here. And that's kind of the relationship that the husband and wife has. You want a wife that kind of, she's under your leadership.
Right.
She wants to, that's ultimately what wives are looking for in a man, is a person that can lead and take charge and take responsibility. But also that comes with that is the issue of being submissive enough to say, this is what the edict is going to be.
Right.
And if you don't want to abide by it, then there's consequences that comes along with that. Which
Right.
the Most High emphatically states.
Right.
In
now,
that text.
I mean, as we look at this, the Most High is talking about his love. He's talking about his vineyard in chapter 5. That's all it is. Once again, this is not about any other ethnic group of people other than Hebrew Israel.
Right.
He says, because of the forestated situation from verse number 1 down to verse 13 of chapter 5, therefore Sheol, okay, the holding place of the soul of Hebrew Israel, has enlarged itself and opened up its limitless jaws, and down go their nobles and masses along with their noise and their revels. The masses are lowered, the nobles are humbled, proud looks will be brought down. That's what he's saying. So now, you got to understand something here, okay? And what we have to understand is that this Sheol is a place where the soul goes when the soul departs the body. When life leaves, when breath leaves your body, breath immediately, it instantaneously goes back to the one who gave it. Bam. Quicker than you can bat your eye.
Numa.
And your soul immediately departs into Sheol. Now, we have called Sheol the grave. But that grave cannot be symbolical with grave as we know grave, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Because we have graves all over the world.
Cemeteries. Where people are buried, yes.
Yeah, so we have cemeteries where there are graves all over the world. Is the text talking about that? Absolutely not.
Correct.
Absolutely not.
Right.
One of the things that you're going to ask me, well, where do you get this from? Well, it appeals to logic. It appeals to logic. Here's what logic tells me. Logic tells me that if I trace the creation of humanity, we trace the creation of humanity back into the land. The land is in the continent of Africa, which I forget what the name is. The name is really not Africa. They changed the name to Africa. I wrote it down somewhere, and now it doesn't come to my mind in terms of what that name really is.
That's right.
But they changed the name of the continent to Africa to meet their imperialistic ideas of what imperialism has done in the things that the Most High has brought into existence. But anyway, man was created in the continent of Africa. Adam was created and Eve was created in the continent of Africa. The souls of human beings were created in the continent of Africa. Logic tells me that it is in that land and in that place that I have to start agreeing with my African ancestors when in this exile they begin to purport that when they died, they believed that their souls went home back to Africa, where we get this word, this terminology, homegoing, that we use for funeral. We're having a homegoing. Well, you see, we use terminology that we don't know what the origin of it is and why it's being used. Oh, we're having a homegoing. We're having Mother So-and-so's homegoing. Well, what are you talking?
Yeah,
she's not going to heaven.
Right. That's where she's not going.
She's not going to heaven. Her soul is not in heaven. And her body is in, the house is in a state of decay. It's going to dust. And the spirit, the pneuma, has gone back to the one who has given it, and the soul has departed to Sheol. Now, I want you to understand something here, okay? As we debunk this idea of hell and the devil, ask yourself a question. What pleasure does a magnificent, long-suffering, gracious, loving Elohim, Yahweh, what pleasure would he get out of seeing what he's created in an eternal infernal?
None. You get nothing out of that.
What pleasure would he find? What pleasure would he get in seeing what he has placed his name on in creation, suffering eternally in something that's called hell, and by its Eurocentric creators, something where there's fire and brimstone.
Right, which you don't see in our text anywhere.
Which is nowhere in the Hebrew text.
Nowhere. And matter of fact, if you go on the behavior again and characteristics of the Most High, he uses these terms like cut off, or your name will be wiped out and no one will ever remember you. It's kind of like when if you get to the point where you've upset the Most High to a point where he doesn't want to deal with you anymore, it's just, you just won't exist. Think of it as if prior to you being instantiated into the world, you didn't exist.
Right.
You didn't exist. Before you were born, you didn't exist.
You didn't exist.
And that's going to be the same way when you out of here if you get on the bad side of the Most High. You just won't exist. Your soul, all of that, gone.
So the idea, and understand something. Now, let's take that a little step further.
Okay.
Let's go to the deluge.
Ah, right.
If we go to the deluge,
Right.
which is the flood, and I want you all to know, for
I love this.
for point of clarity,
Yeah.
within our westernized mind, the people who died in the flood was a whole bunch of Negroes.
Yeah.
They were black people.
Beating on the door.
Well, no white people in the flood. There were melanated people in the flood. Hard-headed, stiff-necked, rebellious, which is the way we have always been since creation.
That's right.
So the Most High did not allow those people to suffer anguish in the flood. Their spirit and soul left them before they were in any kind of a situation where they were in anguish.
Right.
Why? Because he's long-suffering and because he's merciful.
Come on, it's sitting right there in front of you.
Well,
Get
if it's
him.
sitting in front of me, grab it.
Get him.
Grab it.
Come on.
Grab it.
With your explanation of what you're saying, someone dies, spirit or pneuma, breath, goes back to the Most High who gave it.
Yep.
Your body returns back to the dust. This is this physical house, this real estate that you're walking around in, that the pneuma and your soul possess. Is a house. It's made of dirt. It goes back to where it came from. Your soul goes to Sheol. So when Christ died, where did he go? Explain all that and explain. Now you got to reconcile Christ, which again is another debunk of this whole entire issue of what actually happened. He died and then what? He rose 3 days later. So if by way of what you're talking about, the breath that was put in him should have went back to the Most High, and then his soul should have went to Sheol.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen.
So that narrative over there doesn't even match with what we're talking about.
Yeah. Santiago, I see you there. The same entities that have taken the nutrients from our staple foods and taken the validity from our scripture and culture, and I can see that. I can't see the last part of it more the board situated, but you're right. You're absolutely right. And that's because there's no sense of knowledge, and there's no sense of understanding of what the Most High has created and what the Most High has done. So these entities who think that they're smarter than the Most High have diluted the things of the Most High. And, I see you there. Kenya?
I like this too. I like to have that up there. We can interact.
How are they so intelligent but not seeing or teaching truth? Well, it's because, once again, we go back to Scripture. Mm-hmm. If we go to Scripture, the Most High said that Israel was blinded. Mm. That's in one text. In Jeremiah, I don't remember exactly where in Jeremiah, but I think I might be coming up with it this week in teaching, and when I get to Isaiah chapter 43 or in 44, it may be in there because I've read it and seen it so many times where the Most High says his people are stupid.
But see, here, let's put this into perspective. Why are they stupid? Because we've talked on this. This is one of the talking points as to why we're like this. Because if we look at text, you can see all through the book of Shoftim, even prior to Shoftim, we've gotten off track. Even when we go back to the golden calf event that was there when Moshe goes up in 40 days and 40 nights. So I also want to bring that up too. If all of y'all don't want to think that Jesus was the first person that did 40 days and 40 nights and without any food and he fasted. No, that's not true because Moshe did it way before he did. So the issue here is why. And I'm going to go back into one of the prophets. I'm going to quote him because he says this. It's because it's like putting up a stat sheet. This group is so stiff-necked, hard-hearted, that I can take this group of people.
Yes. Yes.
Who has, number one, is a laughing stock amongst all the nations. This is today. We're talking about now. I know that we're in Isaiah.
Yeah.
But that is germane to right
absolutely.
now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
This group that cannot listen. If you go to any event where a bunch of black folk are at right now, it's tough getting us all on one accord to do anything.
Yeah.
And show that even in their downtrodden state, anywhere you go, that curse will follow you no matter where you are. Devarim chapter 28. Even though we preach this gospel around here, and I'm using that as a pejorative term to say, well, this is not our land. This is not where we're from. We should be back in our land and inhabiting that land because we ought to have our own laws and mitzvot and all those types of things. While we are exiled, and I know I talk about the United States and westernized culture, if I go to like a Brazil, or if I go to Medellin, Colombia, or I go over to Australia, or if I go to any East Asia, anywhere, my curse follows me. So it doesn't matter if I'm here in the United States or not. As long as the people of Israel are disjointed from the Most High, the curse will follow you no matter where you are. So the point of what I'm trying to get here is that look at this group of people that no matter where they are on the world, they are still the lowliest group of folk. And if I can take them
right
and use them
right
as the catalyst to show that I am the great I am,
right,
and deliver them back into the land that my mitzvot are true,
yes,
they are pure,
yes,
then that's teaching the nations,
yes,
everyone else, who the Most High really is. Because
right.
you can't do nothing but look. I go no further to take who's the worst basketball team that's out. What do we got going on? I don't follow sports right now.
Oh my goodness.
Who's the worst? Come on, Johan. Who's horrible? And it can't be Sacramento because we moved up. The Houston Rockets.
Houston Rockets. Okay, we'll take
the Houston Rockets.
We'll take them as a
take the Houston Rockets, and we bring in Robert B. Holman.
What's that team?
Come on in the chat. Who's the worst?
What's that team? The GOAT was owner of Jordan.
Wizards?
The Hornets. The Hornets got to be the worst.
They got to be the worst?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's like even with bringing in a Michael Jordan to the Hornets, and even if he suited up and played, that would be the same thing as saying, okay, I can take this group and take them all the way to the NBA Finals. Now you know that I'm the GOAT because I took a ragtag group of folks that had no ability and brought them to the championship. And that's what the Most High is doing with the people like ourselves.
Okay,
we're ragtag and disjointed.
Let's look at something as we come to close tonight. As we close, everything that you have just talked about concerning how the Most High feels about Hebrew Israel and how he feels about our being redeemed out of this exile and back unto the land. It's in the book of Ezekiel. I don't remember exactly where it is. Ezekiel's a very large book, and I don't remember exactly where it is. But the Most High talks about when Israel is redeemed back into the land, and the nations find us living there in splendor, and our exile has been reversed. The Most High says these words, then the nations will know that I am Yahweh. And what he's saying is, then you will know that only I had the ability to take a nation that I knew was going to be stiff-necked, hard-headed, and self-willed, that I could bring them back into the land, redeem them, and they would join themselves to me. There would be one way, and my name would be one. And the language will be one. That's going to take place when when we come out of this exile and we're redeemed back into the land.
Absolutely.
Let me close with these words for a minute. I realized that the current status of the news as we sit here today is reflecting on the war between Hamas and Israel. That's not our war.
That's correct.
And
That's
the
correct.
Ashkenazis are certainly not our people. And we are not them, and they are not us.
Correct.
And while it is that they are asking everyone to contribute money to help them, I don't mind getting attacked for this. Okay, Hebrew Israel, true Hebrew Israel, is black. And if there are any atrocities that happen to black people anywhere in the world, there is no national cry for help to help them.
Absolutely. Absolutely not. We don't get any relief at all.
We get no relief at all. I am not obligated, neither am I responsible for helping a nation that helped bring us to these foreign nations and places that we are. I'm not responsible for helping a nation of people that are more racist, than the people down in Mississippi and Alabama. I'm not responsible for that. I was thinking today, and as my son and I were talking, and I said, it's egregious what Hamas has done. But then, when I go back in scripture text, the Most High gave orders to Hebrew Israel when he brought them out of the land. He gave them the instructions, when you go into these lands that you're going, I want you to go in there and kill everything that breathes.
That's right. Women,
children,
the dog, the cat, the goldfish, anything. Wipe them out.
That was his order. However, the one thing that I don't agree with what Hamas has done, I don't agree with them raping the women. The Most High never told Israel to do things that were inhumane to people.
Right.
But he did give them instructions to deal with the nations that they were coming in contact with, so that they would not be conflicted with their gods in the ways of their life. So, this war in Israel, I call it Disney Israel, is not our war. Esau is fighting the people.
Come on.
I'm glad he doesn't know who real Israel is, although I don't think he would attack us.
Right.
Because we're melanated people too.
Right.
So,
But at least in the same vein with that, again, behavior and characteristics. When you know the text and you know how the Most High operates, it's not unseemingly when you see things like that. That is part of our land. And what has the Most High done before? He does all the fighting.
Right.
When you go, he will wipe everything out prior to you getting there.
Right.
He does his own house cleaning. We just need to step back and let him do his thing.
Right.
And just walk in the midst, folks, and be obedient.
Right. Well, I'm glad to see all of you in the chat room tonight with us as we've talked about these things this evening. Hope that you've gained some insight and some information that will be helpful to you. Sean and I are very glad to see you, and we'll probably be doing this during each of our podcasts going forward. So I want to say to you, if you don't have anybody got any questions before you close out tonight?
Oh, we taking Q&As. Okay.
Yeah, we take some Q&As.
Okay.
You got any questions before we close out tonight? Anybody?
I think we got, this is good to have this particular forum, so, we have the interaction because we're coast to coast on this thing. And one of the things that I'm, like I said, I've scoured. You've said something, again, that we need to take in the gravity of pan-Hebrewism around the world. Not only is it germane to the United States because we're here, but we have our native Ibir that we did a study on. We have our Ibir that is in South America. We have Ibir that is spread all over the world. And I think that one of the things I probably want to try to do here moving forward is to expand my expanse of understanding where we actually are throughout the world. I'm pretty sure that there's folks you have some folks that are in the Middle East that I thought were tuning in from time to time.
Yeah.
And listening to us.
Yeah.
So I'd like to hook up with individuals that are from the UK and because it's a worldwide thing, and we try to make it this microcosm about where we actually are. And again, when I did the dissertation on Devarim chapter number 28, we like to think that Devarim chapter 28 is just for Ibir in the United States, but that's not true.
No.
When you read it, it's okay. It's like a smorgasbord. It's like a golden corral of curses in there. You can say, okay, well, that's the United States and that's the United States, but we don't have these other ones here. But those things are still happening, but they're happening throughout the world. So it's a worldwide prophecy, and we shouldn't try to make it germane to just the United States. When we expand our minds, we find out what's going on. So I'm kind of stalling a little bit to see whether or not anybody.
No, we got a question up there.
Okay.
Santiago, yeah, we'll talk about the Ashkenazis' role in U.S. history here. Matter of fact, we'll probably. God, I can't talk now. I'll make a note of it to kind of. Maybe we'll talk about it in our next podcast.
And let me turn you onto some literature. I don't know if you're aware of it, but out of the Nation of Islam, under the direction of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, there are 2 books I thought.
Yes, I have them.
Yeah,
I have them.
That talks about, I don't know, the history of the Jews in.
Matter of fact,
what's the name of it?
I can't remember. But I'll bring them with me next week so we can talk about them. And I can tell you, and I can point you in, because the Nation of Islam has done an excellent historical study of the Ashkenazis' role in U.S. history. They've done a wonderful work,
wow.
And I'll turn you on to those writings and those books so that you can have something to look at and study from. Mm-hmm. Well, this has been Rabbi Robert B. Holman and
Sean Appleton,
and this has been Hebrews in Exile. Shalom.